about nutrition and ALS, and also just talk about nutrition. They're linked, they are, and I have some quizzes, and you can throw in your answers. Why do we eat? Why do we eat? Why? To live. That's one answer. Okay, what else?
Because we're told to. I mean, our body tells us to.
Actually, that was one of the points. Because we're expected. Somebody tells us. We were raised as children that we're supposed to eat. That is one of the answers. We do it because we have to stay healthy and have our minds working. We also eat because, oh, you're a sweetheart. You deserve kisses.
I eat those.
Okay, so why do we eat? Can anybody get the lights down a little bit? Probably not. Okay, first reason, it is fun. Okay, it tastes good, it's fun. That's one of the reasons we eat. The second reason is it basically, we need to, it's good for us. It provides things our body needs. If you walk into a room with fresh made bread or rolls, it is the best scent in the world. It makes you just think happy thoughts. The other reason we also enjoy eating is because of socialization. It's fun. It's fun to be with people and laugh. Why else? She hit it right on the nose. Partially because we get hungry. Most of us in this world, in the United States, don't always eat because we're hungry. I know at Christmas time, I scout Good Sam's pods for chocolate because most of the doctors are sending chocolate during December. I just have to hit the right pod. I'm not hungry, trust me. I just like chocolate. We also eat because we're supposed to. Somebody's expecting us to try to eat. Quiz. What do these two things have in common?
Fuel.
They absolutely need fuel to work.
Energy, yeah, that's what I was calling.
They are highly engineered machines. Both of those objects are very highly engineered. I have a story about the one on the left, which is a true story. 17-year-old nephew pulls up to the house with his machine. Says, Susie, what have I done to my car? 17, this one's easy. I'm looking at the car, I'm going, you got new rims. Okay. Said you did your tail lights. Grinned again. Looking at the windows. Tinted your windows. And he's just so proud. He's like, wow, 3 out of 3 out of an ant that shouldn't know any of the questions. Okay, we're going to fast forward. I had warned him about a particular part of his car that if he didn't take care of it, what happened in about a month and a half?
Broke down.
It did worse than breakdown. Thank you for trying to be optimistic. It's gone. He didn't fix the engine. He didn't take care of the inside of the car. He got the sound system, the rims, the everything else. He's only 17. He'll get there. What does food provide? Food provides us with everything this wonderful machine, the body, does. It provides us with fuel. Somebody said that over here. So we have to eat to get energy. I know there are a lot of commercials that say things like, energy drink. You don't get energy by taking a 4-ounce drink. What you do get is a lot of caffeine. That might make you buzz around. But our body, we eat food, it provides us with fuels. Every cell needs the minute things that food gives us. Our immune system, organs, bones, muscles, insulation, and transporting it all around the body. All of that comes from food. Our immune system, just a little example, it says you need protein, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, zinc, B vitamins, selenium, iron. I mean, that's a lot of stuff just to make that immune system work. Healthy eating. This is interesting. The middle of the slide is supposed to be beautiful vegetables and beautiful fruit, and it didn't show up. So, you know, when we're talking about healthy eating, there are a lot of guidelines out there. And I really think it's good to have guidelines. I also think that with ALS, that some of those guidelines may go by the wayside. And the reason I'm saying that is one of the U.S. guidelines is we should eat less salt. That's true. That is a true statement. But I can tell you, if you are struggling to eat, and you might eat a few more bites because you had a few grams of salt, a few kernels of salt on it, there's nothing wrong with that. It tells us that we should choose a variety of foods. I also agree with that statement. The issue is that may get difficult also. If you're trying to do as we've always learned, to eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, you may not get a lot of calories from those sources. If you have a half a cup of cooked, carrots aren't as soft enough, half a cup of cooked squash, that's 25 calories. Do you realize that's a spit in what you really need to make that body work? If you had a half a cup of mashed potatoes with margarine put on it, some gravy, you might push it to 150. If you actually had like a soft casserole and you only had like a cup of that soft casserole, you might make it to 200. So I'm telling you, some of those guidelines that you hear for healthy eating still have to be emphasized, but they have to be modified for ALS. It does tell you with healthy eating, the top slide is supposed to be like fish, beans, lean meats, dairy products. The healthy guidelines say low-fat, non-fat dairy products. Again, I'm going to challenge that, because if you are willing to pick up like high-fat cheese and you can get some of it down, then you've scored higher than worrying about it being low-fat. Whole grains are part of a healthy eating, and my favorite cookies. Okay. It says, I take vitamins and supplements. Isn't that helpful? Maybe not. And maybe. There's a couple of answers here. Taking supplements will never, in this world, substitute for getting calories from food. It's never going to do it. You cannot continue to eat less and take a vitamin and assume you're going to be up to 1,500 calories from just taking that one vitamin. It's never going to work. The supplements are also questionable. FDA regulates supplements. Quasi. They do not get involved in the regulation of supplements until there is possible harm. So they can manufacturers can put out supplements and make claims. And then if there's a harmful incident, then FDA is going to step in and say, wait a minute, okay. The other issue of the maybe not is taking a lot of pills fills you up. When you take a lot of pills, you may not eat because you've just filled your stomach up with pills. I had one woman in an ALS clinic. She told me she was taking 25 pills. And I went, oh. Then she said 3 times a day. That is 75 pills. I don't know when the woman ever got to eat. So they can be helpful. They can and they cannot be helpful. If you have iron deficiency anemia and you cannot eat enough iron, your physician will prescribe iron. If you're B12 deficient, they're going to prescribe B12. They do have some benefits. People that don't eat a wide variety of fruits and vegetables and a wide variety, possibly a multivitamin. But there's a lot of research that says that taking those individual nutrients, vitamin C, vitamin D, whatever, doesn't really replace all those micronutrients that you found in food. When it's getting more difficult to eat, this is why I say some of those other guidelines need to be really looked at and modified. You need to add snacks. When it's really hard to eat, divide those meals up rather than in larger meals to smaller meals. Focus on foods with calories. That was my example of that. If you really, salads just get impossible to eat. But if you really had a plate of, let's say, like asparagus, and then you had like cooked apples, and then you had like rice, and then you had the plate theory is you'd have a small amount of meat. Well, I'm telling you, you did not succeed by following that guideline. The vegetables, you only got, the fruit was 60, the vegetable was 25, 85. The whole grains, you probably can't even get them down because they're going to separate and they're not going to go where they're supposed to go. So you probably didn't eat there. Now you're exhausted. You haven't even gotten to the protein, and you've gotten very little out of that meal. So you start making good choices. Focus on the main dish, okay? And then worry about the side dishes if you're not too tired. Make each bite count, okay? What that means is if you're having sweet potatoes that are soft and you know, mushed up, put some brown sugar and butter on them. Add, you know, I know we're taught that we should watch out and make sure your fats are healthy, but if you can make every bite you're taking in have more calories by just making it more dense, then you're also being more successful. Liquids are important, and make them count as long as you're not having problems getting fluids down. Water is a wonderful source of hydration, but it has 0 calories. Coffee and tea, caffeine, I'm not going to fight the battle. If somebody enjoys coffee or tea, and that's what they enjoy, there's no reason they shouldn't have some during the day. If they're having too much, it works as a diuretic. It's going to make them pee, okay? But if that's a thrill, that's a simple joy, there's nothing wrong with it. But other beverages that have calories is if they tolerate milk, chocolate milk tastes great. Juice, half a cup of juice is 60 calories. A cup of juice is 120. That's calories. You can make shakes and smoothies, okay? Do not, when you're trying to be a helpful caregiver, don't make volumes for people because it's defeating. You're doing your best, you care, you love them, you're really trying. But once you serve a large volume of something to somebody who is struggling to eat, they just can't do it. They're going to be discouraged before they even try. So if you're making a smoothie or a milkshake, make them small, but pack it in there, okay? Use high-fat ice cream. I can't tell you, that sounds like a good thing to do. Use some high-fat ice cream. The richer you can get, the better you're off. Use whole milk. Okay, don't go for skim milk. It doesn't have as much calories. It has as much protein. The one thing I do believe in is called whey protein powder, W-H-E-Y. Whey protein powder will actually add protein to that smoothie, okay? So you can actually get that at most stores. You can buy it at Sprouts. I've seen it at Fry's, Walmart. Most stores have protein powder. Put some protein powder in it. You don't have to have, I've heard both discussions when I was in clinic time. Well, do I need more protein? How about less? ALS doesn't need more or less. They just need enough, okay? If you don't get in enough protein, if you don't get in enough calories, the body's kind of clever. For a lot of us, it gives us those little rolls called fat, and the body can use fat, okay? The body uses fat for energy. When a person doesn't get enough protein, it doesn't have a lot of options. It uses muscles. ALS is muscle wasting disease, okay? So protein sources are things like yogurts, lean meats that you've cooked really soft, cheeses, milk, eggs. Eggs are great in protein. You don't worry about cholesterol. You can eat eggs. You can serve them in different formats. So shakes and smoothies, nutrition drinks, they're on the market. I would lean toward ones that have a combination of calories and protein, and some of them have vitamins and minerals. You can, remember the Carnation Instant Breakfast? You can use that one. They have Ensures, they have Boost, they have all of those things on the market. When you're thinking about how to accomplish all of this, kind of plan ahead. If you're home by yourself, or you just want to make things easier, just have ready-made food things available. Sandwiches people can grab, yogurts that people can get to. Make it accessible. If you have beverages that are higher in calorie, if they're in a refrigerator, make them at this level and make them in small containers. Don't do big containers because you can't lift them. The choose wisely is going back to not worrying about that you didn't eat 5 servings of fruits and vegetables that day. Friends and families, if friends and family offer to help, take their help. Softer food, snacks, put the snacks out. Put them where you're going to be. If you're going to be in the living room beside a chair, put them there. If you're going to be in the bedroom, you can use a mini cooler. Beverages at your reach. A lot of people have gone to candle packs, and then they can just sip while they're in their chair or whatever. You can do that. Okay, you've tried everything. It's not working. Help. You're exhausted. You're still losing weight. What's happening? You're eating less. You're tired. You're not feeling well. You're drinking less. You have more depression. You're eating less. You're tired. You're not feeling well. You're drinking less and more depression. It's a cycle. Malnutrition adds to depression. Inadequate fluids adds to depression. The only way to start breaking this cycle is to eat more and drink more. You knew we were coming to it? Feeding tube. How many people are leaving the room at this moment? Probably a lot of you may say, no way, please stop, don't go there. Not ready. Confused. Questions. Are you losing weight? Are you taking longer to eat? Are you eating less? You may not be a good barometer for that one because over time you don't realize how little your portions have gotten. My mother-in-law is 92 and she will declare she eats as much as my 18-year-old nephew. No way is that happening. He's like a house full. And by the way, that eating less, I call it portion distortion because you have no clue that you're really eating that little a portion. Coughing or choking more, and your breathing is becoming worse. Do you have to have all of those to wait for a feeding tube? The answer is no. You may only have number one, but it's significant. If you are very thin, like I say, some people start out thin, they don't have anything to give. If you are losing so much weight, you may need a feeding tube. If you cannot eat, if you're still eating, but it's just taking you longer, okay, you may wait a little bit. Coughing and choking, you gotta listen in. And my speech therapist was always so funny. When we would do clinic together, he would ask people, are you choking? Are you coughing more when you're eating? And they would go, no! And he'd go, like, really? And breathing. You cannot wait till your breathing is really bad because it becomes a higher risk to get a feeding tube after the breathing is much worse. It is time to talk to your doctor. Don't wait. Don't wait till you've got severe malnutrition. Start having those hard conversations. Ask him if he thinks it's time for a feeding tube. Ask him your scary questions like, where do I get it done? What does it look like? What does it hurt? What happens? Do I go to a hospital? Start the conversations now, sooner than later. This is a feeding tube. They can all look different. She has a little gauze, but most people don't have that. It's just that I couldn't find a real good example. It says, what do I put in the tube? It's called a liquid nutrition. Okay, it's liquid nutrition that companies design that have calories, protein, vitamins, minerals, fiber or not, and water. Very well designed products. They also have them designed for kidney disease and diabetics and a whole bunch of other issues. This is what they're actually called. They're called tube feedings. I wish we had another name for them. And they can come in a bag, they can come in cans, they can come in liters. There is actually 2 competitive companies out there that make them, and they're very similar. So you have Abbott and Nestle that make them. It says, how do I use it? How do I use it? You know, she has a feeding tube that looks a little different than the one we just saw. You notice this age group? There are children with feeding tubes. What she's doing here is called gravity feeding. So she's basically taken her tube and she's got a syringe. She's taken one of those products. She's poured it in the top of the feeding tube, and it just goes by gravity. Okay? So that's basically one way. And you can use it through a feeding pump. A lot of people choose the gravity type of feeding because it's easy. Questions come up is like, well, how often do I do this? Can I do it like once a week? No, we don't eat once a week. Usually about 3 or 4 times during the day. And I'm going to qualify that in a minute. How do you get this stuff? I mean, does it come by the Easter Bunny, or how do you get it? No, they're home health companies. Your physician writes you a script. The script goes to the home health company. Usually they get their dietitian involved with how much calories does this person need, what kind of formula would you suggest, and that's written on a script. And then this gets delivered to your door. Most insurance companies pay for it, but I cannot guarantee 100%. So you will have to investigate with your own insurance company if this is a paid expense. When it's not a paid expense, you go to the store and you get something like Insure Plus or the store brand, and you can put that in a feeding tube. What else can you use it for? You can actually put medications down a feeding tube as long as they're either liquid or crushable. If they're a long-acting drug, you cannot put them in a feeding tube because you cannot crush that. So you work with your doctor and your physician, your pharmacist. You can also put in water. So you don't have to worry about hydrating solely by drinking. You can put water through the feeding tube. Okay, so we've had this discussion about good nutrition, feeding tubes. You still can't do it. You're still not ready because you love this. You want to be a part of that. You don't want to give up eating. This is what you enjoy. And my philosophy is enjoy it. We're back to the cheesecake, and the reason we're back to the cheesecake is because when you get a feeding tube, no one should take away your right to eat. You'll know what you can eat. You'll know what you can't eat. You will know how much effort it is for you to eat. But you never have to give up the cheesecake because it's your right. So that's pretty much my message on the feeding tube. And I wanted to thank you all for listening. And Kim, I'll actually stay during the break, so I know we're we're running a little bit late.
No, you're okay. You have time for questions.
If there's any questions, and like I said, I'll stay during the break time. Yes,
Do you suggest the kangaroo pump?
when you're using a pump, she's asking a question. Yeah, the pump in the thing looks different than a lot of the pumps. The kangaroo pumps work really well. Our hospital is just turning over to some kangaroo pumps too. It's just a different type of pump. She's asking about what kind of pump do I suggest. And I actually, it really is up to the home health company and your situation on which kind of pumps. There are, they actually have Joey packs.
Yeah.
They have Joey packs that for people that are out on the go. And a Joey pack is like taking your feedings with you. So a Joey pack is small, and you can take your feedings with you, and you can go and do things.
It's like a backpack, isn't it?
It's kind of like a backpack. It's a little heavier than I expected because the person that I saw in the hospital that had a Joey actually had a liter of fluid, so it was a little bit heavier. I had one of the couples ask me earlier, well, what do you do when you need to travel? How do you travel with this feeding tube thing? There's a couple of answers. I had one couple that wanted to see their son and grandchildren in Germany. He was in the service. And she asked me one day, how do I get all this feeding to Germany? I said, you don't. Because Nestle is international. We all know Nestle, it's chocolate. Nestle makes the tube feedings. It's an international company. All you have to do, all she did, I said, call the company. See what they will deliver in Germany to your son's house. And she came back with me and she said, okay, their products aren't exactly the same as America. And she said, I said, well, give me give me what you know. I said, choose this one. Product was delivered to Germany. She spent 3 weeks traveling, and she didn't lug her tube feedings with her. So just get clever, think out of the box. Some people like to use them at night when they're sleeping, and they just put it on and they sleep. They have all day to do whatever they want. Feedings normally take about 15 minutes. They really don't take long if you're doing bolus feeding. So it's not like, and I did hear you say that you were having issues, but it's not like you should be sitting on a pump for 6 hours of your daytime, because that's not quality. You know, what you're looking for is to get some nutrition, feel healthy, eat what you want, and figure it out. Any other questions?
Yeah, back there.
Back here.
Do you have copies of your slides that we could have for reference?
If you give me an email address, I could probably send those to you as an attachment.
Okay, thank you.
Because I don't. But I could do that.
I can make copies too if anybody
Okay.
wants it.
Yeah.
Just let me know.
Kim said you could also get the slides from Kim.
And Polly over here has a question that she handed me.
Yes.
She's pre-diabetic. And what do I eat?
In general, pre-diabetic with ALS or not ALS?
ALS, yes. She's bulbar.
Okay.
Does that
Yeah. Then with no feedings. Okay. The main idea for that would actually be eating regularly throughout the day. That would be the main focus. Again, calories are important, so you want to try to eat like maybe every 3 hours if you can, just to kind of give your body enough energy going in to stabilize those blood glucoses. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, you had mentioned that the gravity feeding tube is easier. What is the difference between, or I guess the advantages between using the gravity versus the pump, or disadvantages?
Okay, to summarize, she's asking what's the advantage of gravity feeding versus pump feeding. Gravity feeding in many ways gives you more freedom, okay? Because I can normally figure out like 4 feedings in a day. I never ever torture people with 5 or 6 because there's no reality to that. Okay, so gravity usually requires a couple things. That's where it gets different. But the gravity requires, in the slide you saw the young lady holding the tube, so that means you have to hold. But Kim, they also have things that can hold your feeding, your tube. You put water in it. We always suggest not bolusing. Bolusing means that you've got a syringe, it's got a plunger, and the point of the syringe goes to the feeding tube. Okay. Bolus feeding is really putting it in and pushing it through with that plunger. Yeah, most people go like, wow, I feel really full, don't do that. But if you take the plunger out, then you can pour the 2 feedings in, and it just goes through gravity. Once it goes through, you basically put some more water on, cap it off, you're done. This guy told our speech therapist he had a booth at the flea market, and he didn't want to leave his booth, because he was protecting it. So he'd run behind the booth, do his 2 feedings, and back, before somebody stole something. So that's the advantage. And being on bolus feeds, you can adjust throughout the day. Because I tell people, I said, okay, you need 4 feedings. But if you're going to be gone at noon but be home at 2, you can do it at 2. And then you would pick it back up at like 5 and 7 or whatever. You have a lot of flexibility. Some people actually don't seem to tolerate it real well, and they're more rare. And they don't mind feeding at night. They can use their feeding pump at night. You're resting, it goes overnight, you cap it off, you can eat what you want during the day, so there's that advantage. There's also certain tubes that you cannot bolus or use with gravity, and it's a jejunostomy. It's different than what's called a percutaneous gastrostomy. A jejunostomy is a different tube. It's into the jejunum in the body, and you can't bolus it. So it has a bit of little limitations. And who decides that is usually the doctors, and there's usually a reason you get a jejunostomy versus a PEG. So.
Okay, one more question. She'll be around.
If you tend to start choking, just like water or other liquids that are thin, what would you suggest?
Okay, I'm going to go with, I have a dear friend that is the speech pathologist.
Excuse me, could you repeat this question?
Absolutely. Absolutely. He says choking or coughing on thin liquids. Thin liquids would be water, juice, whatever. First of all, that's usually a speech therapist that answers, but I've heard my friend always answer the question. First, flavor the beverage. Flavor the beverage. He always told people to put a little bit of lemon in the water if you're coughing with the thinner liquids. Put some flavor in it, and it'd be less likely. His theory also was that the lungs are very forgiving if it's straight water. If it's straight water, the lungs are pretty forgiving as far as causing pneumonia. So he always favored that would work better. I know you guys hear a lot about thickened fluids. His personal opinion on thickened fluids was it makes people drink less because it's nasty. Once you start making gray water with thickener, people aren't signing up and saying, oh, let me drink 2 liters of that. Okay? It's got a negative. You can try naturally thickened fluids, not necessarily thicken them, but like nectars, they're on the market. You've got peach nectar, pear nectar, those nectars. You can try those. But that's the hints when it comes to like the thin liquids are getting rough.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I've enjoyed it. I will be here at the lunch break, so if you have some more questions, please come up.
I have one question. She was wondering about with acid reflux and do you still have that problem, or is that like
Do you know what?
eliminated?
Okay, this is a fun question. She has said, what about acid reflux with tube feedings? And why I smiled is that I've had people ask me, do they not make them in a different flavor? And somebody goes, why do they say that? And I say, because they burp them, because they taste it. And I said, no, they don't make it in different flavors. With acid reflux, you want to first of all address it if you need medications. Address it that way. If you're on tube feedings, you would want to be pretty straight, especially with acid reflux. You would want to stay up probably 45 minutes, after eating. Yeah, don't lay down. As soon as you lay down, it's a risk for aspirating it. Okay. You're welcome.
Thank you, Sue, so much.
Thanks.